founder of the Urban Garden Companion, our multimedia urban garden design platform, and it's time to have some dirty clean fun in the urban jungle. Today I want to talk about zhuzhing up a mid-season box that already has plants in it. I want to reuse these creeping jennies and I want to give it a bit more va-va-voom. I've already rehearsed this design as I want to mirror image this box with a matching box, and it also had creeping jennies in it. So I'm going to have to take a few of these creeping jennies out because there's about one hand distance full of jennies in the other pot, which is about here. And if you know me, if you started to know me, I like to measure organically with the eye, as it's generally just as accurate as measuring with a piece of apparatus. But it's up to you, whatever works for you best. Now that's quite a bit of jennies, and unfortunately it's the really nice jennies that weren't getting as much sun as this side. As you can see, they're a little brown, but I'm going to sort that out. I'm going to give them a really good water and some plant food, and their position is changing a little bit so they won't get as much sun during the day. I'm going to put that to the side, and that box needs a bit more soil in it. I'm just going to add some base soil, and I can move that around as I work if I don't need as much, and the plants fill it up. I'm in love with these trumpet-like petunias, these stripy trumpet-like petunias. I think they're gorgeous, and I do hope that they give me a lot of volume during the season. They're not wave petunias. Wave petunias are the ones that hang over the pot, but hey, these will do their business. So that is going to go right there, and of course I'm working back to front because I want the front to you, but that looks pretty good. And now next up, I'm going to add my next petunia. Just bombs away with the pot, and that is going to go right here. With petunias, it's best to prune them back. That way you're going to have a flush of flowers the whole season. If you don't prune them back, it's just a little slower for them to regenerate. My third petunia in the other planter or other box, I tilted it to the side so I had a bit of coverage on the edge of the box as well. So I'm just going to mimic that now. And those are pretty much in place. They weren't very root bound. I didn't have to wiggle with the roots too much. A little bit, but they're nice and soft. And that looks great. And I just realized I forgot one of my plants that I need to use for this arrangement, but that's okay. I'll just stop the video and go and grab it in a minute. That is going to go there. I kind of off-centered that with the dusty. I want a bit more height. A bit more height. There we go. Now spikes are great. I do recommend though that you pull them out in the fall. Don't leave them in the box over the winter months to redo the box in the spring, because they get really root bound and it's really hard to remove them. Just a little tip on making things easier for you. And here are my snapdragons. It's going to go yellow and then this beautiful magenta kind of fuchsia pink. And this yellow one, I think it was dropped, fell over. It doesn't look great right now. It would have been great if it was in full bloom for the video, but it's going to recoup, it's going to regenerate, and I will do a revisit to this planter so you see it in its full glory. So the snappies I want nice and high, so I want them visible so they get a bit more soil underneath them. And I do love working with snapdragons. I love the colors, I love how they get a bit of height, and they're really, really easy to maintain. You just have to remember to water them. All right, so I've got two snapdragons happening in here, and I really just wanted that red color, so I am going to divide them because I'm staying pure to the original design. It does drive me a little crazy when things are a little off in a window box. Okay. Now I am going to quickly go and grab my dusty, and I will be right back. I'm back with my dusty. I want to pick one that doesn't have yellowing leaves. So I've got that dusty in my hand, and this little guy is going to be huge within a month. I do like working with dusties. They're evergreen most of the time, unless they're in really harsh conditions and they can't make it back. They're a great complement. I wouldn't use them as a feature plant. I have done that before as an experiment and it didn't really take off. And they add a nice touch of whiteness to any combination. So they can tone something down, but also complement something really bright. And that's important. I feel it's kind of like me. I'm like a dusty. Haha. There's the combo. It's looking really good. Very much mirror imaged, or a mirror image of the other pot, which I will take you to take a look at. And I want to make sure everything is covered up and cozy. I always say that. You got to make sure your root balls are anchored into that pot. If they're not anchored into that pot or planter, what happens is you go back in a few weeks and you notice your plant's not doing too well, and you're thinking, why not? And then you look at it and the root ball's half sticking out, and that's why not. That's why. And because I was mid-season, I like to buy my plants a little earlier than middle of June. I didn't settle with the spike, but I chose to use the spike. I couldn't find anything else that was tall and annual and would give me a vertical accent. If you want all your options open plant-wise, I would get to the plant store a little earlier than mid-June. But I think this looks great. I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you some pro tips. So these guys, these petunias, they work really well with a ton of different plants, and they do get a good amount of volume during the season. Always make sure to keep them moist, and I would definitely plant food once every 2 weeks. They like plant food, they like a good feed. They are natives to South America, and so they like it hot. These jennies, I'm going to give a top up of soil. I do love creeping jennies. They come back every year. They're so easy to maintain. I love her golden locks. And they also would do quite well left alone in the shade, but when they're getting a bit of sun, they really need a good water. They grow in the forests of, I believe, Norway or Denmark, somewhere Nordic, somewhere up north. And they've got that beautiful spiritual kind of I'm a nymph in the forest kind of feel to them, a very dreamy feel to them. Right, I'm just going to double check I have anchored everything in. I'm not going to water it right here in this position. I like to get my plants or planters in position before I water. It's a lot easier. The water's not going to drip out on my feet, and it isn't as heavy to carry to its final destination. I've made a bit of a mess here, hey, but that's okay. I'm going to put that in the pot. If you don't make a bit of a mess when you garden, you're doing it wrong. Gardening is a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. So do it, and do it well. I'm going to leave these brown bits on the jennies. They will eventually be covered by lovely fresh growth. Now I can't see that from the front. It's looking pretty good to me. I am a stickler for positions, so when I get it over to its sister pot, if it's not exactly right, I will fiddle around. But there we have it for now. A zhushed up summer, beautiful, seasonal window box or floral arrangement. And I'm going to put that in position right now. Thanks for watching. I'm Helena, founder of the Urban Garden Companion, and I really look forward to seeing you all here next time.